I cannot even tell you how many times I've heard the words, I could not do what you're doing. I really wish I could and I would love to, but it just looks too complicated. Friend, if I learned how to knit at 14, you can learn it too. And I think perfectionism keeps us from trying new things. And we just think we cannot do something as well as somebody else that we see, let's say, on social media or, just next door. And if we feel like we can't do it a certain way, then we're not even going to try. So today I want to kind of bust this myth a little bit and explore how perfectionism and expectations might keep you from trying something new, such as starting to knit. Let's get into this episode. Hey there, Mama. Welcome to the Knitting Mamas podcast. If you're a mom who's tired of feeling exhausted and longing for some well-deserved self-care and rest, you are in the right place. I know that finding time for yourself as a busy mom can feel like an impossible puzzle. But guess what? You don't have to compromise anymore. Hi, I'm your host, Nadine Medina, and just like you, I am a mom, wife, and also a happy knitter. Over my 15 years of motherhood, I have been on a journey to discover how to truly recharge without the guilt and the never-ending quest for perfection. The secret? It's all about progress, not perfection. By focusing on simple routines, natural wellness solutions, and the cozy art of knitting, I found the path to feeling whole and content. And on this podcast, I am sharing it all with you so you can do the same. Are you ready to find simple solutions to set yourself free from mom guilt, to take more time for yourself to truly rest, and to use your knitting skills for a mindful routine that creates space in your life so you can breathe easier? Let's take a deep breath, grab those knitting needles, and say goodbye to mom stress. Together, we'll create a supportive community that encourages you to prioritize self-care while juggling all your responsibilities. Sound good? Let's do this. Welcome back to another episode of the Knitting Mamas podcast, and I hope you're doing well. Today we're talking about how perfectionism might keep you from trying something new and from trying to start your knitting journey. If you've been, looking at others on either Facebook or Instagram, or even if you know somebody who is knitting and you just feel kind of intimidated by it, this episode is for you. And I also want to share with you in the beginning of this episode that I do have a YouTube playlist that you are welcome to check out. It's all free videos that show you the basic techniques of knitting. And as somebody who, spoiler alert, believes that it's not something that is too hard to learn, I would love to invite you to check out that YouTube playlist. You can find it at bit.ly/learn-to-knit. So bit.ly/learn-to-knit. I'm also putting it in the show notes so it's easy for you to find and click. If you're saving this episode, it'll be there for you when you need it. So let's get into this episode. I know that there's a lot of you out there, and I've seen it because I've gotten these messages when I post a reel or a knitting technique or something like that. I get so often, or even a finished project, right? It's like, oh my gosh, you're so good at that, and I could never do that, but I really wish I could, or I would love to learn. I just don't know how to start or where to start. And it's this like something is holding you back from actually getting started. And there's something that I have learned from one of my business coaches over the years, and it always makes me laugh, but I tell this to my kids too, and that is embrace the suck and just get started. What do I mean by that? So we are not going to be perfect from the moment we pick up something new, and knitting does have a bit of a learning curve. But when you just get started and are okay with the fact that you may not be really great at it in the first couple of tries, then you have something to move past and to move through, and you can keep going. I think what really matters is that we actually get started, because unless you start something new, you will never get to the point that you would love to be at. So if you're looking at other people and think, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're doing that. That looks complicated, or I would never be able to do that. I'm either not coordinated enough, or I don't have attention to detail, or I'm not patient enough, or whatever it might be that you're telling yourself. How are you ever going to get to that point if you never even try? Another thing that I really really believe about this particular hobby, knitting, is that the main reason why we're trying to do it or why we are doing it is not necessarily to be perfect at it. And trust me when I tell you that there's so many things in knitting that I have not either tried nor mastered. So you can get very far in this craft when you only know the basics. And I think that goes back to my very first episode, as a matter of fact, if you want to catch that, if you haven't yet. And the reasons why knitting is such a great hobby, not only can you take it on the go, but again, you don't even have to master a lot of stuff in order to produce something that you can really be proud of. So, for example, in order to make a scarf, you literally don't need to know how to increase, how to decrease. All you need to learn is casting on, knitting potentially just one stitch. You don't even have to do the two basic stitches, and you're off to go, and you can produce a scarf, and it's going to look gorgeous. And people won't even know that you are a beginner. It is fantastic, and that's what I love about knitting so much. Besides a lot of other things, obviously. I love a bunch of things about knitting, but that's definitely one of my favorite things. And if you have been around this podcast for a little bit, you may have heard me talk about how I learned to knit when I was 14, and I was taught by my grandma back in Germany. But then I did not touch my knitting needles for over 20 years. I did knit for a little while, and I did it into, I think it was my early 20s. And then for some reason I stopped because I got busy and with school and things like that. And eventually I had kids, and then I completely forgot that I even knew it. It wasn't even on my radar anymore until the pandemic started. So that's 4 years ago? That's when I picked it back up. And not only was it something that I got into so fast again because I already knew how to do it before, but it just felt simple. It felt simple enough to achieve even when you are super busy in your life. And it wasn't this like, oh my gosh, I have to watch like 15 videos. I have to go to this class. I have to get out of my house. No, it's something that you can pick up on your own with a little bit of help. And if you want to, I can be that help for you. So remember the YouTube channel, you can go into there and just simply get started. I also have episodes on the favorite tools that I use, so you can make your list. And if you haven't downloaded the Beginner's Guide to Knitting, it has all the tips, tricks, links to tools, and all the videos that you need to watch in it, and you can get started literally tomorrow. Why I think knitting is such a great hobby to give a try and throw the perfection out of the window and just focus on the progress that you can make is that it's such a stress relieving hobby, and it's really truly is not a perfection demanding skill. So I want to encourage you to just focus on the progress and the process as you go, as you learn new things, and don't really, fixate on the end product or even the initial outcome that you produce. So let me put this in perspective for you. When I first picked my needles back up, I knitted this cardigan, which was a gigantic project. So it took me so long to finish. And I almost threw it in a corner and was like, you know what? Maybe this knitting thing wasn't such a good idea to pick back up. But it was a simple stitch. So there was really no reason for me to say, this is not going to work for me, because I knew how to do the stitch. It wasn't like it was complicated. It just felt really long because it was the first project after such a long time. What I should have picked, and this is what I tell beginners now, is something that can be completed really quickly, because it'll give you that sense of accomplishment really fast. And that is what keeps you going and trying new things, picking up new yarn, maybe trying something more complicated, picking up a new skill, some new stitch. Maybe you learn how to decrease, to increase, to cable knit, whatever it might be. By the way, I've never cable knit before in my life. So there are many things that I still have to learn. But I am here to encourage you to do the thing, because you are going to get so much more out of it than if you kept waiting and eventually potentially regretting that you never started. So when it comes to thinking about it as a stress relieving hobby, I know that you might be thinking, but hang on, Nadine, what if I'm getting frustrated because it takes me a long time to learn, even though I'm a visual learner, and maybe there's something that, I'm not getting. right away, I want to encourage you as well, because yes, there are moments when that can happen, of course, because with anything that is new or with anything that you're trying, to achieve, to master, there might be moments when you're like, oh my gosh, I'm kind of ready to give up, and this is more stress inducing than it's stress relieving. If that's the case, I would highly encourage just to put that away for a little bit, pick up something that you can do, something easier. Just a garter stitch, which is literally just one single stitch repeated over and over and over, and just master that and get the stress relieving benefits from that. And once you have that one under the belt, then go and try something new and be in a place, or know the place you're in. If you're already frustrated and stressed by something else, maybe this is not the thing to pick up. Maybe that's when you just say, okay, you know what, I'm going to stick with this thing that I already know. I know how to do a regular just knit stitch, and I don't have to learn something complicated right now. I can just rely on this as my source of stress relief. And when you feel like, okay, I can take on something else, then you go ahead and learn something new. But truly, it is not really complicated. And if you follow the steps that I show you in my videos, then, and in the beginner's guide, which I'm sharing the link in the show notes as well, just so you know, you don't have to worry about not finding that. You just go to the episode, scroll down to the show notes, and it's right there, and you can just sign up for it. It's a PDF download, and so the links are right in there to everything. And again, if a 14-year-old me can learn this, then you absolutely can. And I do agree that it might look a little bit complicated, and you have to learn tension with your yarn. And it might just look a little funny, but I just say go and get started. Get yourself some needles, go to Michael's, get some needles, get some yarn, get that PDF download for sure, so you have all the recommendations in there that you need to look out for when you get your tools, and come into our Facebook group, and we're going to help you get started. There's no shame in being new to this. We have experienced knitters in the group. We have newbies in the group, and there is so much help and so much support. And I just can't wait to see you complete your first project, because that's going to be the best. It's going to be so amazing. I can't wait. So again, I want to encourage you today to throw the perfection out the window, not worry about what either people might think or where you may fall short, and just get started and get the amazing benefits of this hobby before or sooner than later. And all you need to do is dive in, get your tools, get started, hop into our Facebook group so that you can get the support. I'm here for you, and I can't wait for you to start and to see what you're going to create. I will talk to you next week in the Knitting Mamas podcast. Hey mama, I hope you've soaked up some great ideas from today's episode. Remember, a happy mom makes for a happy fam. If today's chat hit home with you, it would mean the world if you could leave a 5-star written review on iTunes. Your review will help other moms discover our community and embrace guilt-free self-care. Also, if you're scrolling through Instagram, why not snap a screenshot of this episode for your stories? Don't forget to tag me at The Knitting Mamas so that I can shout you out on my page as well. Plus, that way we can stay connected and spread the self-care magic. Oh, and have you heard about our cozy Facebook community? It's a guilt-free zone where we share relaxing routines, essential oils, and knitting adventures, and so much more. Come join us today at bit.ly/knittingmamas, and let's unwind together. Until we chat again, take care, mama. And remember, looking after yourself is not selfish. It's essential for that balanced life. Catch you soon right here on the Knitting Mamas podcast.